So one of the topics that we covered in our local user group was Visual Studio tips and tricks. And we did it really in two parts. We did the general tips and tricks, and then we did some tips and tricks on debugging. I'm going to split this into two videos, with this video going to be our general tips and tricks on Visual Studio. Let's dive right in. The first one we did was actually a pretty straightforward one. It was the multi-monitor support slash breakaway window support in Visual Studio 2010 and now 2012. And that is very simple. Just drag it around. You can throw it on a different monitor if you feel like. You want to add it back to your original tab bar. Just use this little down arrow right here in the top right and dock as a tab document. Second thing we covered was the zoom. Inside of Visual Studio now you have zoom, which is just as easy as holding control down and using your scroll wheel on your mouse back and forth. The other thing that you can see is in the bottom left hand corner, as I'm scrolling in and out, the zoom is actually changing. That is actually a zoom control down here, right here. You can go directly to one that you want. They have some presets for you, or you can type it in. Next thing we covered was reference highlighting, and this basically allows you to see all the references to a single variable inside of your code quite easily. It just highlights them all for you. Let's just use args since we have it right here. So if I wanted to use args in some way, shape, or form, and let's play with something that's going to allow us to do it a lot, and let's start concatenating stuff. So I'm going to quickly say args o, concatenate that to args1 and concatenate that to args2. Finish that statement off so it's compiling. Now when I highlight that, it's going to highlight all three of the other ones as well. The next thing is IntelliSense's search as you type capabilities. I'm using System right now. So if I'm looking for date time, and yeah, I know the word time's in it, but I don't know dates in it for some reason. You've got a bunch of objects in your libraries. You may get to this point. I know time's in it somewhere, so I can just start time, and everything with the word time in it is going to show up for me. That default search capability is quite nice. The other thing is you can search based off of Pascal casing. So I built this class. It's a completely empty class and it's just called Pascal case, simply to show you this functionality. I know I got that Pascal case class out there. I can just type in capital P, capital C, and it's going to bring me right to it. Lowercase as well is not case sensitive. Just habit for me to hold shift. So that works with any class, all the built-in ones as well. If I wanted that date time, I can do DT. There it is. Next is a feature that I find really useful. So I'm typing, I've got a list of stuff, and I'm like, wait, I need to look at something else real quick, but I don't want to lose what's already there. So what you can do is you can actually hold down Control, just Control by itself, and it'll make the IntelliSense go transparent for a little while, so you can see what's below it and not have to get out of what you're doing right now. It's like, oh, yep, date time's what I need, tab out now, and done. I'll get rid of that real quick. The next thing was vertical selection, which is kind of interesting. Hold Shift and Alt, and then you can go up or down, and it'll actually select vertically. Now what I can do with this is I can add code, I can edit code. So let me purposely mess something up right here. I'm gonna say like I'm adding a bunch of parameter names, or in the long run this would be something like first name parameter name, middle name parameter name, last name parameter name, if I'm doing something with again some kind of person object. I'm gonna mess this up right here. Come back and say, oh, I messed that up, so let me go edit that. Same thing, you can hold Shift and Alt, go down, go one over, highlight, and now I can just hit capital E and finish them all off. The next thing was you can move between your braces with Control and right square bracket. And what that's allow you to do is just go back and forth between those. So if I'm on the class, I can hit Control right square bracket, move back and forth, and it works within any curly brace. There is a caveat on this one. It only works in C# and C++. Of course, that has to do with the fact that those are the only two that actually use this syntax. Now, along those same lines, what happens if I want to take that whole body and just select it? So what you can do is you can hit Control Shift and now move with the right square bracket, and it'll highlight everything in that body. Next thing we covered was snippets. Code snippets are really useful. They have a bunch of them built into the framework. There's a few ways to get to it. So I'm sitting right here. I can say right click, or I can go to Insert Snippet, and that's going to bring me up this thing. I'm going to escape out of that so I can get out of this and show you the second way, which is the keyboard shortcut, which is the way that I prefer. Control K, and once you hit Control K, hit X right after. I'm going to show you that again. Control K, and at the bottom left hand corner of Visual Studio, see Control K was waiting for the second key. A lot of functions in Visual Studio that are keyboard shortcuts kind of work this way towards a combination. It gives you a little bit of time, so I can still hit X, and now I'm there. I'm going to use some built-in ones. Let's go and get a quick for statement. So for some reason I want to count to 10 in my program. I'm going to tab that, change this to, there we go, tab, and I'm going to cw.i plus 1. If I want to write out the numbers 1 through 10 in a console application, that will allow me to do it. But let's say I was already writing a piece of code, and for example this for statement. Along with snippets, you have the ability to surround code. So let's say I only want to hit this for loop if something else occurs. So what I can do is I can right click after I've highlighted, and I can say surround with right here. And again, you've got your Control KS to be able to bring that up from the keyboard. Since I'm already here, I'm going to use this right here. Alright, so now that we've got this open, we can review all the different things that you can surround code with, not just, use as a snippet. So, like I said earlier, we're going to use an if statement. I'm going to pop that in, and it's going to just drop it in there for me. Surrounding it, everything, it reformats everything correctly. It's really quick, really helpful. The last thing that I think we covered was the ability to resolve a reference. I'm going to quickly use the debug class in system.diagnostics. I know it's out there, it's not referenced in my code yet. What do I do? Well, what you can do is you can right click on it right here, go to resolve, and there it is. You can resolve and automatically add it to your using statements for that class. I think that's it for this video. I'm going to get the debugging video out as soon as possible, which will be Visual Studio debugging tips and tricks. I may do another video on extensions to Visual Studio, like the ones I like to use. I also may do a video on how to do custom snippets and custom item templates, which is another way to build out your Visual Studio environment. Make yourself a little bit more efficient inside of Visual Studio and stuff that you do a lot. But other than that, I will say goodbye for today. Thank you for watching.